There you go.
All right. Comprehension is a creative process in which children are engaged with and think about text. Comprehension is started once children activate background knowledge and respond to it. There are several reader and text factors that go alongside reading comprehension. These include activating prior knowledge. I'm just going to skip, guys. I'm not going to read all that. Make predictions, connecting to experiences, et cetera, et cetera. Teachers can create expectations of comprehension for their students by involving children in authentic reading activities daily, providing children with access to well-stocked classroom libraries, providing children with opportunities to talk about books. Discuss what expectations for comprehension you observe in your placement. Focus on 2 children, 1 struggling, 1 proficient, or 2 other students you identify. Focus on at least 2 strategies: predicting, connecting, visualizing, summarizing, evaluating that these children are using to help them comprehend the books they are reading. So it's basically asking what expectations we would have for our students when they're reading.
Yeah, that's how I'm taking it.
I guess for me in preschool, I mean, we can't expect too much of them. However, we do start with teaching them the parts of a book. So we ask them, where's the front cover? Where's the back cover? We have started implementing or incorporating, telling them what the author is, what an illustrator is, so they know those basic concepts. And then some students that are more proficient, they are able to follow along, sequencing, telling us what happened first, in the middle, and the end. So that's kind of the expectations I feel that we have in preschool. So.
I would say like the same for my classroom, like kind of following along. And then something else that we do, we always talk about like the author and the illustrator and the title of the book, and then just kind of go over like being like print awareness, and then going over like just important words or maybe like words that the kids don't always understand. So kind of like the same thing, like they're just starting to understand it. So we ask very like simple like questions just to kind of get like the base in general.
I think for my kiddos, it would be predicting and connecting. When they see certain books with similar characters, they make that connection that it's going to be the same character. So if there's one of the flat books with, let's say, like Spot, they see the dog and then they make the connection with the other books. They don't really summarize what's going on, but they evaluate each book, whether it's upside down or cover to cover, turning pages, boards, but just letting them do their own kind of evaluation on it. And I'll try to ask them to predict, but they don't really know. Like, I'm like, what's going to happen next? And they don't know. So just trying to make those connections with them so that the predictions start coming is what we do in my room.
Yes, I agree. I know in my classroom, like, so we do over the print concepts, the front and back cover, the author, the illustrator. And I actually did the assignment where we had to do the print concept assessment. And I was asking one of my kids, I did 2 boys, and I was asking one of them about where the different parts of the book. And one is 5, the other one is 4. The 5-year-old was better at it than the 4-year-old. So he could tell me like where one word was, where the letter was. He couldn't quite tell me where the space was in between the words. And he could tell me what the title of the book was. But then when it came to show me where the author of the book was, he kind of like pointed at the title, and then went down to where the words were. But he's getting it. I was like, so, it's just more of just making it a routine every time you read a book, repetition, just doing the same thing over and over. And also, oh my goodness, what was I about to say? Go ahead, just forget it.
I would agree. My kids, we do the same thing. We go over the parts of the book. I'm kind of to the point with my one class, just because they're a lot older than the other class that I have. I can just point to the part of the book and they'll just yell it out. Like, that's the title. This is the spine. And then we started talking about like, what is a spine of a book? What does it do for the book? And the one little boy says, well, it holds it together. He's like, and we have one of those in our back. And I was like, we sure
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
And they like to come up, and I have this teacher pointer with the big finger on the top. They like to, when I'm reading, be able to take turns pointing to the words. Sometimes they go really fast or they're behind where I'm reading at, but they are starting to understand that each word is a word for itself and it's not all just a bunch of letters together.
Mhm.
And they do have their favorite authors. I will, before we turn the page, we will talk about what just happened on that page. So like, we just did a big book and it was The Little Red Hen. So in order for me to know whether they comprehended what was actually happening, I would just ask, what just happened on this page? What was she asking? How did her friends react? And before we turn the page, and then it just kind of put the pieces together. I think easier for them at the end. And then they were able to, not all of them, but majority, I would say, were able to grasp why they couldn't have the bread.
Mhm.
And it was because they didn't help. So that's kind of what I do. And predicting, I just usually I start my beginning of my week, especially if it's a new book they've never read before. I do a picture walk and I just show them the pictures in the book, and I start with I wonder what's happening on this page, or how do you think these people are feeling on this page? What do you think's happening? And I guess that would go hand in hand with the visualizing. Um, and I have a couple kids that evaluate every single thing that we do. And then that tape that I told you guys about last week with the highlighting tape.
Mhm.
If we have any questions, we also use it for that to mark the page, so we can go back and reevaluate that page and understand it better.
Yeah, my class is a little different. And I only say this because, like, in the beginning of the year, we focused a lot on like talking about the parts of the book, like this, and that. Like, they are a preschool 4 class, but they fall under a pre-K category. So, like, they're just the more mature kids in preschool, and they have they're slightly older by like a couple, like they'll have their birthdays in the beginning of the school year instead of like farther back. But the problem with my class is they are super impatient. They cannot sit there unless it's a book that they're super, super interested in. They do not care about what's on the front cover, what's on the back cover, who wrote it, who drew it. Like, they don't care. And the best, like, and sometimes I feel when I tell people this, they feel like they look at me like I'm crazy. But when we recorded our videos, I was reading like this book. The book was literally maybe 15 pages. And it was like a cardboard book. So obviously there wasn't a lot written on it. And in the video of me recording, I'm reading the book, and all you hear is one of my students go, "Oh my God, when is this over?" And I'm just like, I literally said, I was like, well, I haven't even started yet. So they follow along and they know and they get the gist of like what happens in the book. But I think like this point, like I do like go over, like I will say like the title, the author, and the illustrator, but I won't ask them where that all of that stuff is because they already know, and they like just want to like get reading over with.
Mhm.
I think they just find it like boring, or their attention spans just aren't there. But what they do like is they like when we read a story and it's like a story they know, or like a shorter one, we do storyboards. So we do like what happened first, and then it's like a little project where they like cut out the pieces and they glue them on in the order. Um, and that's really the only way we could get them to sit there long enough to listen to the book and understand the book. Like, they're all super smart. They know, like, I can ask them like questions about the book and they'll tell me the answers. They just don't want to sit there and listen to people read.
It sounds like they're more hands-on, like they need activities to engage them.
Yeah, and like we totally do that. I think we've done it where we've given them books and they like follow along, or in another class that I'm in, we do mini books like about like different things. Like the last one we did was shapes, and it's a book and the teacher has the same book and it's the same sentence. So it's like, I see a whatever red square something, and then the students color in the red square with a red marker or crayon, and then they move on to the next page, and the next page is like, I see a yellow circle, and they really like that. But yeah, they're definitely more of a hands-on. They're also, I don't know what it is, they like to rush. They rush everything. They need to know exactly what's happening, the next thing. Transition times, I think I've mentioned like our transitions are terrible because they're always like, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? Well, what are we gonna do now? What are we doing after? And I'm just over here like, could you just chill? I need a second. But
Do you
yeah,
have a visual schedule?
we do. We have a visual schedule in the classroom, but the afternoons are, and I don't know why they ask in the afternoons because it's always the same thing. I think it just throws them off still that like we do nap in a different room than the one we're in because it's not big enough for all of us and they can't be
Gotcha.
6 feet apart. So I feel like that throws them off, but I also feel like it doesn't anymore because it's the middle of the school year now. Like they
Yeah.
get the gist.
They also
They're just-
probably anticipate, like, they don't know how to tell time, but their inner clock.
Oh
probably
yeah, I
anticipates.
have some students that are like, what time is it? Mom told me I'm going home at 2:45. What time is it right now? That hand is on the one. So what time is it? And then I have to tell them like, dude, you got like 45 minutes. Like, please leave me alone. Go away. But they're just like, I wish I could like sit there like for at least like 25 minutes and like read them a story and like really dive deep into the books. But this class just doesn't allow that. And like
My other class-
I'd rather do something else that like has to tie in with the book than them sitting there and like losing their minds on the carpet than like forcing them to sit down in one space, listen to this story, answer all my questions. I'd rather do like something like where we all have individual books, even if it's not like a normal story, like it's a shorter story or a shorter version of a story. I'd rather do something like that, like very much more hands-on than, and this is the first group I've ever had that with. So it's a game changer.
So my other classroom is very much like that.
Mhm.
And what I had to do was a lot of research on finding some hands-on books that were quick. And I don't know if this is how you pronounce his last name, but it's spelled Cotter. And
Mhm.
I think it's Bill Cotter. And he is the one who makes the book, Don't Press the Button. So literally
Okay.
every page, you should be able to give a child a turn to come up, push the button, turn the book upside down, shake it, twist it, whatever it says on that page. And
Mhm.
it keeps them interactive with the book, but then he makes all these other ones too. And like right now for Christmas, we have Don't Shake the Present.
Mhm.
And those are the type of books that I have to do. And if I don't have those kind, I'll try to do like the Three Little Pigs, and then I'll try to come
Yeah.
up with either like a felt board like you were talking about, or I will come up with like something they can put on like a prop and like they can act out the story while I'm reading it. Otherwise, they're lost in their own world.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that.
Yeah, we always need interactive books in my room, like the don't push the button, and they all need to press the button. Otherwise, we lose some of them. It just all depends on how
Yeah.
interesting and how interactive the books and how you present it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of like, I know in the morning they do a lot of like reading books where it's on the smart board. So it's the book, they can see the book, see the pages, but it's someone on like YouTube like reading it. And they like that because they'll sit there because it's a screen. They'll watch it. But if you like sit down with them and like unless you're reading with them one-on-one, I have a lot of students that like to be read to one-on-one, not in a group. But if it's not like on the smart board or it's not like a book that'll take 5 minutes, whole class not interested. That's fine. That's fine.
Have you ever read the there's a monster at the end of this book to them.
Yes.
Do you change your voice when you read books?
I do. I personally do. I don't know, but I'm also the aide in that classroom.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if, and like the teacher that I'm with, he's new. Like this is his first year teaching. So he was put with me and the other aide who are a little more experienced in the classroom. I don't know personally if he like changes his voice, but I personally do just because that's what I like.
Yeah. Because the other thing that I noticed too with the ones that I have a hard time getting their attention during like read aloud, I pull out a puppet and instantly they're like, ooh. Because
Yeah.
they, to them, that's real life. Like, ooh, there's somebody new in our room. And
Yeah.
so I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I know with our kids, sometimes they have to like hold something or like even like we'll play like matching games, but I have a hard time too getting our kids to like focus or have intention on the screen. So, because my kids they lose their attention span too faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've noticed a bit, if you put a YouTube video of someone read of the story, they'll
There's
sit
no-
right there.
Yeah, it's the same in my classroom. It looks it's like, well, now you listen.
Yeah, which is fine. Like it sucks that like I can't like sit there and like read the book to them because I actually
Right.
really enjoy reading books to kids,
Right.
but they're still getting that experience of someone reading it to them. They're still being able to see the text, see the pictures, enjoy the book. So I'd rather throw a YouTube video on of someone else reading because they'll actually sit there for the 15 minutes and listen to the book.
Right.
So yeah.
Have you ever thought about recording yourself reading a book and then playing it for them?
I have not.
That's a good idea.
Interesting. I think if I played it, I'd have to sit there and hold my hands over my ears because the sound of my voice being recorded is like nails on the chalkboard.
I
Like
think
you
we
ever
all
hear
feel
like
that
yourself,
way.
like you ever hear yourself like on a recording
Yeah.
or like in a
Yeah.
video you take and you're just like, oh my God, I sound like that. How embarrassing.
Right.
Obviously the
Yeah.
kids I think would probably think it's funny, but I'll be in the back of the room just
I had to do
I've
that
actually
one.
done a virtual storytelling for a book organization. So yeah.
Mm.
And I had
I
to
did-
record it. And I was like, oh my goodness.
I had to do that last year, like when the kids couldn't come, like when the students weren't allowed, so we had to do stuff over like Zoom
yeah.
and just like playing it back to myself. Like every one time I was like, oh yeah, I was like, I feel like I did a really good job. And then like I watched it back and like because I work with like disabled kids. So if my kid most of the time my kids are like running away from the screen or they're not there. And the mom the whole time was like really like interacting with me because she also went to school to be a teacher. And I was like, oh, I was just having an interaction with the mom. And her son was like this the whole time. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't like watching myself either.
Yeah. It's not the vibe.
I don't like hearing myself. I'm like, no. Like, 'cause who is this little girl talking? That's all I see. I'm like, who is this kid?
I just feel like we sound like performers, like, hi guys, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like
It's the
Work at,
customer
like,
service voice.
Disneyland or something.
That's kind
It's
of how
the
I
worst
feel
when
like
you
we
hear
play with
yourself with a
music.
recording and such. It's the absolute worst thing in the world, I feel. Even with like home videos, anything, it's terrible.
Yeah, because I'll turn on music for the kids and then I'm listening to these people just sit and you can just tell that they've made like their own videos. And I was like, I can totally just do that on my own, but I know the minute I go to do it, it's going to be horrible.
Dude, come on, like Jack Hartman, he literally has a video.
I
for
know.
every little thing. I'm like, dude,
And he has
I
that
can do
creepy
that.
mustache. And I'm like,
Like, I could do that. Sponsor me, okay? Like,
His videos like haunt my sleep. Literally, one of the classes that I'm in, they listen to him all the time. The teacher in that room always finds a video about whatever topic she's teaching. Like the last one was the gingerbread man dance.
Oh yeah.
It's literally burned into my mind.
he literally did that dance all last week
Yes.
because they were learning
so
about
did we.
gingerbreads. Yep.
And all I could think about is kids yelling, I love this song. And I'm like, I hate this song. I
Jack
hate
Hartman's
this.
also low key kind of creepy, but like,
Yeah,
can't
he's the
knock
guy
his
in the
hustle.
van with the mustache.
I can't knock his
45-year-old man dancing in a gingerbread costume, 100% he's creepy.
Yes.
You know what,
With
that was
small
fun.
children around him, like
I know, right?
I don't know. To me, it looks like trafficking, but